The traditional net present value rule operates like a mechanical lock. Once triggered, a massive steel vault door slams shut, sealing a corporation into a single, irreversible strategic path. This is the bedrock law of corporate finance, taught in every MBA program. If the net present value of a project is 0 or greater, you invest immediately. But a fatal assumption hides inside that formula. It forces executives to treat investments as now or never decisions that cannot be undone. In real-world strategic management, the future is volatile. Markets shift and competitors react. Managers possess the flexibility to adapt to that volatility as it unfolds over time. Relying strictly on linear discounted cash flow models under high uncertainty creates a trap. Firms either destroy value by blindly committing to failing projects, or they miss preemptive advantages because the initial spreadsheet looked too risky. Applying deterministic math to a probabilistic world causes executives to ignore the quantifiable economic value of their own managerial flexibility. Real options theory corrects this mathematical blind spot. It is the formal discipline of applying financial option pricing logic directly to real physical corporate assets. The traditional model plots a clean, straight trend line. The real options approach maps potential market realities into an expanding cone of uncertainty. This defines managerial flexibility, the right but never the obligation to act based on how that cone resolves. This introduces a new hurdle threshold. The traditional formula is obsolete. Now, the present value of a project must exceed its cost plus the option value of keeping the investment choice open. Under this architecture, uncertainty is an asset that creates measurable strategic value when structured correctly. The simplest form of a real option is the option to defer, or the wait to invest option. It functions like a financial call option. Holding this option presents a trade-off. Committing capital immediately kills the option to wait for better market information. To calculate that trade-off, we isolate exogenous uncertainty. These are macroeconomic forces outside the firm's control, like exchange rates or demand shocks that generate uncontrollable shifts. As exogenous uncertainty rises, the value of keeping the option to wait open increases. Information becomes more valuable when the environment is volatile. Mathematically, the new investment hurdle is the cost of capital plus the high opportunity cost of losing that deferral option. Rational firms universally delay or shrink the scale of immediate investments when exogenous market conditions become highly volatile. Traditional finance assumes an initiated project runs for its entire projected lifetime, regardless of market performance. Real options theory identifies the option to abandon as a strategic put option, granting the right to halt operations. By retaining the right to walk away, management slices off downside risk from the probability distribution, leaving only neutral and positive outcomes. The variable that dictates the power of this put option is irreversibility. As investments become more irreversible due to specialized assets or massive sunk costs, salvage value plummets. This destroys the option to abandon. High abandonment value justifies taking on projects with higher overall volatility, provided the investment remains reversible. This creates a paradox. If irreversible costs destroy option value, why do firms fund early-stage R&D with deeply negative net present value? They treat these multi-stage investments as compound options. Here, the first investment buys the right to acquire a second option later. The upfront cost of Phase 1 R&D functions as a premium paid to acquire a downstream commercialization option, rather than an investment in a final product. This initial step opens multiple paths: abandoning the research, pivoting the technology, or scaling up for global distribution. The potential upside of the final phase justifies the guaranteed loss of the first phase. A negative NPV is a valid strategic choice if it purchases a proprietary growth option that competitors cannot access. Exogenous uncertainty dictates that a firm should wait for the market to reveal itself. However, endogenous uncertainty, volatility stemming from technical feasibility or partner reliability, requires a different response. Endogenous uncertainty does not resolve with the passage of time. It only resolves through direct action and capital deployment. Sequential, iterative investments generate learning. As a firm deploys capital step by step, it strips the variance out of the problem, revealing the path forward. Strategic firms wait out the market, but spend capital to demystify the technology. Exogenous uncertainty demands delay. while endogenous uncertainty requires immediate sequential investment. The real options framework applies directly to the boundary of the firm and organizational governance. Firms in volatile industries often choose the administrative friction of joint ventures over outright acquisitions or internal development. A joint venture operates as a structural call option on a partner's capabilities. This structure caps downside exposure to a partner's potential failure or opportunism, limiting the loss to the initial equity stake. The JV simultaneously preserves the growth option to wholly acquire the partner's operation if the uncertainty resolves favorably. Corporate structures function as active financial derivatives designed to selectively absorb upside potential while repelling downside risk. This architecture explains hysteresis, the phenomenon where firms delay entering booming markets and refuse to exit collapsing ones. This behavior stems from real options logic, distinct from irrational escalation of commitment or the sunk cost fallacy. On a profit graph, the new investment threshold sits far above the zero line, accounting for the lost option to wait. Similarly, the abandonment threshold sits far below zero, preserving the option of future recovery. This wide gap is the zone of inaction. Massive restarting costs and high asset irreversibility widen this zone, paralyzing firm behavior even as market fundamentals change. This logic forces a conceptual shift in how executives and M&A professionals calculate value. Elite strategy focuses on the architectural task of structuring decision rights to exploit the future, rather than the impossible goal of accurate prediction.